to reach out to other people who, for whatever reason, weren't able to make it till today, or maybe just other members of the community. I think what's pretty interesting about today's workshop is that it's not just in tuning into like your sixth sense and things like that, but there's also like some science behind it and why that's important. And I think I'm a bio major, so I think that's pretty cool. And the way I met Charmaine was through actually through Eventbrite. My girlfriend and I were looking for something to do, and Cassandra was like, "Oh, this seems like an awesome workshop, a aromatherapy workshop. You should check it out." And when I met her, just like Cassandra said, like we all just clicked, and I felt like she'd be an instrumental part to Lotus and what Lotus represents. And I feel like what that is that just kind of like in tuning to yourself and in tuning to what is you. That sometimes we are a little bit hesitant about doing that because it's like that feels weird, or most people don't do that, or that it's just it takes a little bit of courage and comfort to really tune into the other parts of you. But yeah, so today should be an awesome workshop, and I think a lot of what was mentioned in regards to what people are looking for in the workshop will definitely be able to address that somewhat. I think it'll be cool that all of you guys are open to experiencing life from this lens, because most people, it just, they're a little bit hesitant about it. So I thank you guys for being open-minded and for giving this an opportunity, for spending your Saturday with us. So we'll get started here.
Okay. And I think this is Olive. If you want to introduce yourself, and we kind of went through all the introductions, but basically, if you want to share what you're hoping to get out of the workshop.
Okay. Make it simple, yeah, like a place for like healing and connecting with folks and opening myself up again. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, great. So we'll get started. This probably isn't the optimal setup, but if you want to move around so you can see, it's not essential that you see everything that's up here. But basically, background, my name is Charmaine, and I was mentioning to some of you who were here earlier, I'm a ICU nurse, and so I've always been kind of involved with healing, and more recently I've been trying to shift helping people outside of the hospital, whereas before I was focused on helping and healing people who were in the hospital, and in doing that I felt like I needed to reach out to people before they got that sick, and hopefully prevent them from getting that sick. So I was doing aromatherapy workshops before, as they mentioned, where we would make like sugar scrubs or candles, using essential oils. But I've been also on a spiritual journey, and I was a little hesitant before to kind of share that in my workshops, just because I'm like, oh, nobody's going to want to listen to that, or it's too woo-woo because I think I'm weird. But I found that, I do share stuff on my Facebook page, just with people who are in my circle, and they've always asked, what's happened to you? Like, why are you, like, I want to be on whatever you want. And so, with this workshop, I was also kind of told to share my story, because I think all our stories is basically how we change the world. I mean, there's a ton of essential oils out there, there's a ton of crystals out there, there's a ton of medicine out there, but how you change the world is through your story and by sharing it. And so that's why I did this workshop. And it's not necessarily to sell you on my truth, because what I'm going to share with you today is not the truth. It's my truth based on what I've experienced, what I've come across. And it's not the definitive truth, but hopefully by sharing my story with you, maybe it'll offer some perspective into your lives, and maybe it'll just encourage you to kind of, go on your journey to find out what's right for you. So, okay, I'm going to be holding my phone here. Sorry, guys. So on my journey, I mean, we're all on a journey. Basically, whether we're aware of it or not, we're all on a journey. But I'll share with you, instead of sharing my whole life story, I'll share with you, I guess, the more permanent information. About 4 years ago, there was a period of time, maybe about a year, where everything just clicked for me. I wasn't trying to be on a spiritual journey, but for some reason everything just clicked for me. I started losing weight. I had all this energy, and life was just all of a sudden very beautiful for me. And I was in this flow where it's beautiful today. Let's go to the beach. I would just take off with my kids, and we would go to the beach, and I felt so alive and so sparkly. And if I could describe myself, I would describe myself as sparkly. Where at one point even I was thinking of setting up a website with a picture of me with sparkles blowing out my I really wanted to share it with the world. Excuse me. And then so that lasted about a year. I was working out, not necessarily for the sake of working out, but because that made me feel good. I was eating well, not necessarily to lose weight because I had to fit my dress size, but just because that's what I wanted to eat. So like I said, I felt like I was in this flow. And so after a year, when I was at the gym, somebody stole my purse. And after that, my sparkle went away. And at first, after my purse got stolen, I was fearful because I didn't want to go to the gym because whoever stole my purse had my keys to my car, had my driver's license, they knew where I lived. And so I didn't go to the gym for maybe about a week. And then, so we changed our locks, and I kind of got over my fear a little bit. So I'm like, okay, I'll go back to the gym. And ever since then, I've been searching for my sparkle. I've been trying to get it back. And so, I went back to the gym again, and it felt forced. I wanted to get that sparkle back. So I'm like, okay, maybe I just need to work out more. Because, I didn't go to the gym. Maybe I need to work out more and get that energy back. Exercise is good for you, so I'm supposed to do this. And so I did that. It didn't work. Okay, maybe I need to exercise a lot more. So I signed up for this online boot camp with this, eating plan, and I got super buff and super skinny. And even though I looked my best, that still wasn't it. And so, okay, maybe I'm doing too much, maybe I need to eat more. And so, I ate more, and it still wasn't it. And I said, well, maybe I need to drink more. I was searching for my sparkle outside of myself. And I think it was almost 2 years where, I was just trying to come up with the perfect formula. Like, okay, they say exercise is supposed to do it. They say eating healthy is supposed to do it. They say maybe just relax more. It didn't do it. And, I kept grasping at all these things that I thought could do it for me. But it just didn't do it. And then so one day I was checking my email, and I got this coupon for Amazon Local for a psychic for $39. So I'm like, okay. I've always been into astrology, but I've never seen a psychic. I've never really been into the woo-woo stuff. But I'm like, okay, $39, what can I lose? If anything, it's $39 if it doesn't work. And if she can tell me how to find my sparkle back, then awesome. So I went to see her, and she didn't give me my sparkle back. But she did tell me about Reiki. And I had never heard about Reiki before, or any kind of energy healing. And so it sparked an interest in me, because when I looked more into it, it said, or the way it's described is that it basically uses universal energy or love to heal. And so since I'm a nurse, I'm like, oh my God, I can heal everybody if I take Reiki. And so I was inspired by that. And so I was posting it on Facebook, oh my God, Reiki. And then a friend of mine in Monterey, she said, that's weird because I just had my first Reiki session from my neighbor. Do you want to try it? And since I didn't know anything about Reiki, I jumped on it. I'm like, okay, that was like the next day. I'm like, okay, I'm going. I want to know what it's all about. And the first psychic I went to, she was recommending her instructor who taught for Reiki. she said she offers nurse credits if you take Reiki, and that was going to be her last class. So I had to make a decision: should I take this class or not? Because if I don't, I'm going to lose out on this opportunity. Wanted to get nursing credits and my work to pay for it, and so I wanted to experience it so I can make that informed decision whether to take it or not. So I drove over to Monterey, and it wasn't even, it was just my friend's neighbor who just decided to start doing it again. And it wasn't actually a business for her. She just, happened to do it for my friend that day. And so when she did it on me, she said, okay, when I do Reiki, sometimes things come through, messages or information. She said, do you want me to share that with you? Or do you, would you just rather have like a quiet session? Well, since I didn't know what it was about, I'm like, okay, well, whatever, give me what you got. And then, so, she did the Reiki on me, and I don't know if it was just Reiki because she does all this other spiritual stuff. I think she does theta healing too. So I don't know exactly what she did that day, and what her abilities are, but when she was doing me, initially she had a hard time. She said I was very closed, and the whole session I was just crying. So it released a lot of stuff in me. But one of the main message that I wanted to share with you about that session was that, prior to this, I've never had any messages from beyond given to me. I always thought, well, if you do get a message, it's probably your family member or your dog, like somebody really close to you. And then so when she was doing this session for me, she said there was a gentleman that kept showing up while she was doing this to me. And she said that, she kept asking him to go away, but he kept coming. So I said, okay, and then she said he's bald. Okay, I didn't know anybody bald. And, she was trying to describe him to me, and for the longest time I couldn't figure out who she was describing. And then she said he's Caucasian. And before that, I was like, if this lady's trying to scam me, maybe she'd say he's Asian, or, like somebody close to me. But she said, excuse me, he's Caucasian, and he's bald, and he has like hair over here by the ears. And I still didn't know who she was talking about. And then what clicked was that when she finally said, he's not very nice. And so when she said he's not very nice, it kind of clicked in my head because as an ICU nurse, I experience a lot of death. I see a lot of death. And I do see a lot of death, and as an ICU nurse, there's kind of like a distance between me and my patients because, that's just, even though I am involved with them, it's different when it's a patient, it's different if it's your grandma. So I've always maintained that kind of distance, not consciously, but, it's just there. But there was one death that really affected me. It was the first one that I cried over. And it was this guy who's been in the hospital for a long time. He's always in and out. But even though he's been in the hospital, in and out, the only time I had him was the night that he passed away. And he was known to be very grouchy. He had a lot of health problems, and so I don't know if he was grouchy because of that, or maybe, I don't know the cause and effect, but he was just a grouchy person. And so everybody in our unit kind of knew him as this grouch and really wanted to take care of him. And so I just happened to have him that night. And when I had him that night, he was on his way out. He had changed his code status to DNR, which means do not resuscitate. And he basically just wanted to be left alone that night. And, I'm the type of nurse where I kind of smother. I'm always hovering, like, yeah, what you need, okay. So that was kind of hard for me to just step back. I would give him his medications, I would do my assessments. But anything beyond that, when I would ask him, do you need anything else? He would just say, no, I'm good, just close the door. So when he did pass away, I cried because the whole time he was there, he never had family visit him. He never had friends visit him. So he basically died alone. And I'm almost positive he lived alone too. So it just broke my heart that, this guy has been so lonely for maybe most of his life, and that's probably why he's grouchy. It just kind of hit me when he passed away. So I think that's who it was who came and gave me the message. But basically, his message, what he wanted to tell me was that through her, she said that he wanted me to know how thankful he was that I was there when he passed away, and that it made such a big difference for him. And that he said, he felt very comforted and safe and secure. And in my head, I'm like, but I didn't do anything, like I didn't do anything special. I didn't save his life. I didn't bathe him, even that's my thing. I like to bathe the patient. Excuse me. But, I didn't even do anything above and beyond that I felt would warrant such a visit or a message. But, that message really hit me. And so, I'm still crying even more. And I asked him, is he okay now? I asked her. And she said that, she kind of laughed. She said, he's okay, he feels much lighter now. And he's showing me him walking in a field of flowers. And so that was so beautiful for me, because the whole time, whenever he was in the hospital, he had heart failure. And when you have heart failure, your lungs kind of fill up with fluid. And so it's hard for you to breathe. You have a heaviness in your chest. And so that's what he was dealing with for, the end of his life, or, that was his chronic symptom. So, that was just beautiful to hear that. And so that message is kind of what's, one, it opened me up to the possibility that there is, more than what we have here. And that there is life beyond what we perceive as death. And also that another message that I'm gleaning from that now, another lesson, is that we don't necessarily have to do anything special to affect other people. And another message I took away from that is that all you have to be is you. I mean, when you are acting out of your heart, like from your heart, people feel it around you. You don't have to touch them. You don't have to carry them. You don't have to go out of your way to do anything necessarily special. But if your heart calls you to do it, that's fine. But, I think a lot of people kind of get hung up on, oh, I have to be this perfect mother. I have to carry my whole family, or, I have to go, do these specific things to prove my love, or, I think a lot of people get hung up on that. But I think, like I said, I keep going back to that message. I think we all have innate energy, and we're like ripples that, we affect people just by being ourselves. So yeah. And, I kept looking for answers outside of myself. And, so a whole new world opened up. So after that session, and it's weird because after that session, I took my kids out to dinner, and it's so weird because at the restaurant we were eating at, there was a table across from us with a guy that looked exactly like him.
Oh my God.
He was surrounded by family. They were eating like this, family dinner, everything. Everybody was laughing. And I was a little scared because he was old, he kept coughing. I'm like, oh my God. But, it was just beautiful to see this alternate him that I hoped he had. Maybe that was his alternate self. But, it was just beautiful to see this image of him living out a life that maybe he could have had. But yeah. And also, just that experience with Reiki, that convinced me, okay, I'm going to take this Reiki class. And that opened up, another whole world of, like energy. and also, excuse me, I thought by taking the Reiki class, I would be able to do what the Reiki lady did. I thought I could do magic, but no, no magic. It's just, I even, asked the instructor, because I had limited experience with Reiki. I even asked her, like, am I going to be able to read minds, And she said, no, that's not what it's about. But, that opened me up to the possibility that we could, it just opened up so much for me, just that one session. And so after that session, I just started on being more involved with my journey and, asking more questions. And like I said, since I'm a nurse, and my primary motivation was to heal others, but I found that before I can try to heal others, I have to learn how to heal myself. And so, that's what my journey has been, trying to find, basically going on my journey helps others just by me healing myself. Maybe if people watch me, or, just seeing my example, I guess, can help others. And like I said, even just the energy that you emanate as you heal yourself, it's kind of like a hot rock in a pot, like as you emanate all this energy, you're kind of heating up the whole pot and you're helping others with your vibration too. So, yeah, so it kind of directed my journey inside, instead of looking outside for answers, I started asking myself questions, and instead of, basically I just started focusing on myself and looking for answers within myself. And so one of the first questions, since we're opening up to possibility of energy, with Reiki, how can you heal with energy? And how can you heal at a distance? I don't know, are you guys all familiar with Reiki for energy healing? Somewhat? Okay. Somewhat, yeah. So basically energy healing is, or Reiki, is that you kind of are a hose for energy, and that, you can lay hands, or you don't even have to, you can send Reiki at a distance and people receive it. And so that's, one of the questions that I have. Well, how can you do that? And so it just opened up more questions, and I feel like I've been kind of like I'm following like a trail of breadcrumbs of questions, like I ask a question and the universe somehow gives me an answer in one way or another, and then it leads me to ask another question, and so that's, I'm just following a trail. And so I just wanted to share some of my breadcrumbs with you, so maybe if you guys have those same questions, then maybe I might help you on your journey too. But, so one of my questions was, who are we, we are bodies here right now, right? That's our most basic perception of ourselves, right? So we are an individual, right, person. But as an individual, we're made up of systems of organs, we have stomach, our whole body is a coordination of all these systems of organs, and that's how we function. And then each of those organs are made up of tissue, right? And that tissue is made up of cells, right? And then all those cells somehow coordinate, right, to make our body work. And those cells are made up of molecules, protein, or fat, or carbohydrates. And those molecules are made up of atoms, right? And then those atoms are made up of electrons, protons, neutrons, just zipping around in space. And even the electrons and neutrons and protons, they make up like a very minuscule amount compared to the space that takes up our whole body. So, excuse me. And those electrons, protons, and neutrons, what are they made up of? They're made up of basically just electrically charged particles. So basically all we are is just like a cloud of zipping electrically charged particles, right? But if that's who we are, so basically, in our essence, if you really drill down, to our basic building blocks, we're made up of energy. And then so that's how, I connected, energy healing to how it works for us. And if you think about it, like even medicine, like the chemical reactions that make it work in our body is also based on an energetic principle. There's molecules that connect together, neurotransmitters that connect together, and chemical reactions that happen in our body, and even just the interventions that we do in the hospital, we balance electrolytes, and that's also based on charges, electrical charges, and even MRIs, the imaging that's also based on energy. So even the quote unquote traditional sciencey stuff is built on the principle that, whether they know it or not, it's built on the principle of, working with energy. And, excuse me. So when we take away all of that, so there's different forms of energy that we readily sense. There's a mechanical energy, like if I push you, you're either going to move or you're going to fall. Mm-hmm. And either sound, that's also a form of mechanical energy based on movement of air. There's thermal energy, and we sense heat. And there's also radiant energy, like light, the light that we see and that we don't see. And chemical energy, the reactions, right? And the electrical energy, just the energy that we use. And so that's all energy that we can see, right? And I wanted to show that even though this wall is static, it's made up of energy, and it's vibrating. Everything around us, all the molecules, all the electrons, all the protons, are always in motion. So even if a table looks like it's at rest, the molecules and the atoms in it, the electrons zipping around, right? And there's this guy who invented this meter that measures our vibration. And I tried to look for it, but he says he stopped selling it, or he stopped making it, because there's so much electromagnetic frequency now. It's just hard to measure somebody's frequency now because there's so much interference. But he had some information on his website about frequency. So it says here, it's a little too small for you to see, but it says a living healthy cell oscillates at 27, a lot of zeros, hertz. So that's just a cell. And DNA within the cell resonates at a certain frequency. Excuse me. And the vibrational frequencies of atoms in non-living solids at normal temperatures are around 1013 hertz. So a lot slower than the cell, a lot less zeros. Mm-hmm. And on his website also, I don't know if it's on this, okay, it says here, 58 megahertz body's frequency. That's when people start to get flu-like symptoms. And if your vibration lowers even more at 55 megahertz, you get a viral infection. And at 42 megahertz is when you're susceptible to cancer. So even our bodies, with the fluctuating vibrations and frequencies, we are prone to certain ailments. And so we do have our own resonant frequencies.
Charmaine, where did that come from? What's the name of
the website on here is coherentresources.com.
Okay.
/BT3FAQ. There's paper there, so if you guys want to, feel free to write down notes if you want to. So that's free for you to use. So yeah.
I'm sorry, it's called Coherent what?
Coherentresources.com /BT3_FAQ.
Cool. Thank you.
Does anybody else need that website? Okay. So, frequency, it's hard for us to visualize because, what we see is this isn't moving. It's just here. That table isn't moving. It's just there. I'm not vibrating super fast. That's not our perception, right? So it kind of takes, and I think it is all about perception, even just, in terms of realizing who we are. You can see yourself as an individual or as energy. It depends on your perception, how you look at it, right? Your point of view. So I wanted to show you a video. Cymatics, you're familiar with cymatics. So I wanted to show you a video of how vibration makes things into form. Okay, so I'll show you a video. And I love this video because it has music too. There's visuals online of cymatics. If you look up cymatics online, there's a lot of videos, showing vibrating plates, but this one it's pretty. CYMATICS.
I like to put this on for my fish.
Oh yeah? Really?
How did your fish react?
I don't know, he's always really lazy, so it's hard to tell. Hard to gauge.
Like when I leave the house.
Oh, that's cute.
If you spare a little of your imagination, it is a film to describe to you the effect of cymatic frequencies on matter. video is on there. But basically, this demonstrates how, sound is not really something we see, but just the vibration of sound can bring something into form. Like, different, depending on the vibration, it comes up with different patterns. So that's just one visual, right? So if sound can do that and change basically the form of something, it's just sand, but just with addition of vibration, it changes its form into something different, right? Let me go back to the slides. So if that can affect basically reality, the form that we see, then how can energies that we don't readily perceive shape our reality? Do you guys understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So if our something as basic as sound can have such a huge effect on what we perceive, then there's other energies out there that can also shape our reality. So basically, going back to that question of who we are, if we're just energy, then why do we have bodies? And so I wanted to share this other video of this lady, Jill Bolte. She's a neuroscientist, and she studies the brain even before she had a stroke. So she had a stroke, and when she had the stroke,
I woke up to a pounding pain.
Okay, I'll let her.
Behind my
Since it started over.
She wants to talk first.
Caustic pain that you get when you bite into
So it's
ice.
not a video, it's
And
audio.
it just gripped me. And then it released me. And then it just gripped me. And then it released me. And it was very unusual for me to ever experience any kind of pain. So I thought, okay, I'll just start my normal routine. So I got up and I jumped onto my cardio glider, which is a full body, full exercise machine. And I'm jamming away on this thing, and I'm realizing that my hands look like primitive claws grasping onto the bar. And I thought, that's very peculiar, and I looked down at my body, and I thought, whoa, I'm a weird looking thing. And it was as though my consciousness had shifted away from my normal perception of reality, where I'm the person on the machine having the experience, to some esoteric space where I'm witnessing myself having this experience. It was all very peculiar, and my headache was just getting worse, so I get off the machine, and I'm walking across my living room floor, and I realized that everything inside of my body has slowed way down. And every step is very rigid and very deliberate. There's no fluidity to my pace, and there's this constriction in my area of perception, so I'm just focused on internal systems. And I'm standing in my bathroom getting ready to step into the shower, and I could actually hear the dialogue inside of my body. I heard a little voice saying, okay, you muscles, you gotta contract, and you muscles, you relax. And now I lost my balance, and I'm propped up against the wall. And I looked down at my arm, and I realized that I can no longer define the boundaries of my body. I can't define where I begin and where I end, because the atoms and the molecules of my arm blended with the atoms and molecules of the wall. And all I could detect was this energy. And I'm asking myself, what is wrong with me? What is going on? And in that moment, my brain chatter, the left hemisphere brain chatter, went totally silent. Just like someone took a remote control and pushed the mute button. Total silence. And at first I was shocked to find myself inside of a silent mind. But then I was immediately captivated by the magnificence of the energy around me. And because I could no longer identify the boundaries of my body, I felt enormous and expansive. I felt at one with all the energy that was, and it was beautiful there. And then all of a sudden, my left hemisphere comes back online, and it says to me, hey, we got a problem, we got to get some help. And I'm going, oh, I got a problem. So it's like, okay, I got a problem. But then I immediately drifted right back out into the consciousness. And I affectionately refer to this space as La La Land. It was beautiful there. Imagine what it would be like to be totally disconnected from your brain chatter that connects you to the external world. So here I am in this space, and my job and any stress related to my job, it was gone. And I felt lighter in my body. And imagine all of the relationships in the external world and any stressors related to any of those, they were gone. I felt this sense of peacefulness. Imagine what it would feel like to lose
right side of our brain is more of the creative La La Land side, where it's it's the inspired part of the brain. Where the left side is more of the logical, step-by-step, spatial, orientation. And so the middle is kind of the processor that combines the two experiences. So we are individuals. This is a very real experience for us, and we're not trying to, poo-poo that experience, because there's a very valid reason why we're here. But we also have to keep in mind that we are energy. We are part of the wall, and the table and the floor. And we are part of everything. And the thing that keeps us kind of contained in our body is, as you said, is our consciousness. Because when she lost that part of the brain that perceives space, she lost kind of the ability to differentiate herself from the wall. Her electrons just kind of blended with the wall. And so she experienced the alternate reality of, we really are just energy floating around, and we're just all in this soup, right? We're all in this soup together. And so we are simultaneously individuals, and we are simultaneously part of the, both are valid. It's not just one or the other, it's both of them simultaneously.
So that was her experiencing the stroke?
Yeah, so she was describing her stroke, and she's a neuroscientist, so it's kind of cool that she had this background already. So she was trying to analyze it, kind of like what's going on from a neuroscientist perspective, and but she was also having this experience, this very spiritual experience, and it was beautiful. And if you guys wanted to watch the whole video, it's a TED Talk. It's longer, but it's very inspiring. It's a beautiful TED Talk. Her name is Jill Bolte. And so, so that kind of made me think, well, consciousness is also a form of energy, and it's giving us form. We're talking about vibrations giving form, like sound gives form to something. Our consciousness is also an energy form that gives shape to us as individuals. And so there's this other book that another one of my breadcrumbs that I happened to come across on my journey. There's this gentleman, Masaru Emoto. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's a Japanese scientist, and he studied water. So he took all these, he wanted to know, basically he took water samples from all these supposed healing sources, like Lourdes. There's a lake in Japan that supposedly heals people. So he took water specimens from all these places, and he froze them, and he looked at them under a microscope. And he also compared them to water sources that, like regular tap water or a polluted river, and he wanted to see what the difference was. So I don't know if you can see here, but when he looked at them under the microscope, the ones that are from pure sources or from healing sources have this beautiful, like, crystalline structure to it. So, yeah. So this one is, I don't know how to read it, but I'm guessing a place in Japan. It's spring water, so it has this beautiful structure. And then this one is from the Shimanto River, and it was referred to as the last clean stream in Japan. It has a really pretty structure too. And then this one is Antarctic ice. And then this is from the fountain in Lourdes, which is supposedly healing water, so it's also pretty. And so this one, not so pretty, and it doesn't look so structured or cohesive. This one is from the largest lake at the center of Japan, where pollution is getting worse. So it doesn't have that, what do you call it, organized structure. And this one is untreated distilled water. And then this one, this water source, is from Fuji Fujiwara Dam before offering a prayer. So it's, it's disorganized. And then this one is from the same water source, Fujiwara Dam, but after offering a prayer. So he looked at the effect of thoughts on the structure of water crystals. And so he found, I have, look, you guys want to look at it later. It has more pictures, but he took samples from like a polluted river, and he had monks pray over the water. And he took pictures, and it did change structure. It became more organized after prayer. And he also, I don't know if you've heard that experiment with the rice. If you say loving thoughts to one jar of rice, it doesn't get moldy. And then if you say I hate you or something to the other, it gets moldy faster. So I don't know if he actually did that or if it's based on his study, but it's pretty similar. So basically what he was trying to show is that thoughts and prayer do have power to change reality, I guess. I would like to say, reality, because it changes the structure of the water. So it makes it more cohesive and formed. And so if this is what thoughts and prayer does to water, our body is made up of water,
Yeah.
right? And so if your thoughts are discordant, can you imagine what your water molecules in your body look like, right?
And those
So-
energies you were showing us too, it's like so important to surround yourself with like that positive energy because we are that water.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And so his book is called The Hidden Messages in Water, and I think he has several other books, but he passed away already. But I had a spiritual friend who offered me a bottle of water one time, and she, the cap was already open. I'm like, oh, what's in this? She said, I prayed over it, and she had the words love on the bottle, and she told me about him too. So she said, it's a good one.
We're passing it around too if you guys want the name of the book or take a picture of it.
So another book that kind of affected me too, I don't know if you've heard of Louise Hay. She's been around for a while.
It's my favorite.
And, and so basically she's written a lot of books, but this particular book is a list of physical, physical symptoms or diseases or ailments, and how it relates to certain limiting beliefs or thoughts. So when I read this book, I kind of connected it to my patients at work, and I could really see it in my patients at work, because normally doctors and nurses, when they treat a patient in a hospital, they just look at the body. Okay, her temperature's high, give her Tylenol. They don't. Even though we're taught to look at people holistically, it's hard to kind of do that at a hospital when you're especially in the ICU, where the patient's immediate needs are just to keep them alive. But there's really powerful examples that I've encountered at work where there was a young girl who had no other reason to be sick. I mean, she's very young, very fit, no obese, no prior medical history, but she came in, excuse me, she came in and she was with us for a long time. She was very sick when she came in, and I can't give too much details because of privacy purposes, but she was very sick, and there's no other reason why she would be sick, but she had, her uterus was not good, and after she got off the ventilator, she was on it for about a month, and I was able to talk to her. When I talked to her, basically she had a lot of issues in the past regarding giving away her feminine power. So, I mean, not just sexually, but just control of her body. She had, she didn't feel like she had control over her body. And I think that's why she had such issues, because she held that resentment in for so long. And in the book, the uterus is related to feminine issues. I mean, just kind of makes sense. But she also had issues. She also had issues after that where she, her lungs weren't working properly. She had a lot of infection, and she all these problems. When I talked to her, she said she had this screaming tube. When I was talking to her, I asked her, what's going on? Because you've been sick. And she said the whole time she was just laying in bed, she was just watching these infomercials about lawsuits. And so about Mirena, it's this IUD. And so she was just, she said she was thinking in her head the whole time, I am so going to sue. I'm so going to sue. Once I get out of here, I'm going to, she was still very resentful the whole time she was recovering, trying to recover, and she was on that breathing tube. So I think that's why all these issues still came up, because if you look in the book again, relating to the lungs and infections, it's about holding in resentment. So, that was one of the more powerful examples, and there's also a few others. But, after reading this book, I'm like, well, no wonder his kidneys are shot. If you look at the family dynamics, when you see how they interact with their family, they're either, some family members are really, bossy, or, and how they treat the patient, how they interact, you can kind of glean some kind of guess of what the family dynamics are, and in my head I'm like, I can see where that comes from. And so this also, I think, kind of reflects on how our thoughts, manifest in our bodies and in our health. And so I actually gave this book, I had this book for 2 days, and then I had a patient who wasn't getting better, and because she was scared to move in the bed, and she had back problems, so I gave her the book. I'm like, here, you can have the book, you can look, I think, this might help you. Then the next day, she got better enough to get out of the ICU. So I really feel like once you unlock your limiting beliefs about yourself, and your thoughts, really do shape, not just shape, but, it really affects your reality in a very real reality, in a very real manner. It's very evident. And so that helped me kind of tie it all together. There's also another book that I felt was life-changing for me. This book was about this lady who, I think she had lymphoma or something, but I didn't read the whole book, but I saw her TED Talk. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she talked about how her cancer had gotten so bad that she was in a coma already. And she had this out-of-body experience where she could sense the doctors working on her, and she could sense, her brother who was, I think, in India, getting on a plane to come see her. And she had this experience where I don't know if it was her father, but while she was out of body, she met with her father, somebody who had passed away, who said, you have a choice. You can either go back into your body or you can go. And during that meeting, she said that they had kind of told her or explained to her why she was sick. And basically her life up until getting cancer was very type A. She was very driven. She was always worried about what other people thought about her. And so it had affected her to the point where she got sick. There were all these other issues. And then so when she had this out-of-body experience, she decided to come back because she felt like if she came back, she would know how to heal herself. And so she did come back. And when she came back, her tumors went away. They said they were starting to reduce inside in 7 days, started to go away. And also, when she was at that point, when she had her out-of-body experience, or her near-death experience, she was already frail. She was skin and bones, and so she made a full recovery, and she does TED Talks now, and she looks really healthy. And so that was another key for me, that how powerful our thoughts are regarding our health, and how it really, really affects us. And I shared this with family, and and also it goes back to that point where, I'm so kind of, being a nurse, I want to heal everybody. But I think this kind of demonstrates that only you can heal yourself. I mean, no amount of medicine can do that for you. I mean, it can help. It's like a band. Everything is a band. Everything outside of you is like a band-aid. But only you can truly heal yourself. So I shared with you my experiences with those patients. And also in my work, we deal with a lot of heart failure patients. And it's kind of a joke for us nurses sometimes, because just like that patient who passed away, a lot of them are very nice. They're on the verge of OCD sometimes, where you move their table a certain way, and like, oh no, you have to move my table here, my water has to be here. They're very, not all of them are, but sometimes when you have a heart failure patient, everyone's like, oh, it's heart failure. So kind of like explaining everything. But like I said, not everybody's like that, but tying back to how we see things and all these things that we cling to kind of manifests in our body. Excuse me. And yeah, so and also at this point, like I had learned Reiki. I had learned Reiki. I was into essential oils. I was into crystals. And even though I had kind of started on the spiritual journey, I was still in some ways, grasping at things outside of myself. Like, okay, this book said this crystal will do this for me. I'm gonna get this crystal.
Yeah.
And this essential oil is supposed to do this for me. I'm gonna put this essential oil on me. Or even Reiki. I would do Reiki on my patients, and sometimes I can see it. It's kind of nice at the hospital where you can see their temperature, you can see their blood pressure and their heart rate, and a lot of times they're unconscious, so I would just do it on them. But, it would work. I can kind of see it sometimes, her heart rate's settling down, and for the patients who are awake, they say they've gotten really good sleep. But in one particular case, like I did Reiki, but 2 days later, she's still sick. So, at that point, I was like, well, I'm doing all these things that are supposed to help. I'm giving her medicine. I'm doing Reiki on her. Reiki's supposed to heal everything. But, it still wasn't healing her. So that kind of solidified in my mind that it doesn't matter what I do, how much I try to give her all the energy, it's still up to her. It's still, it's still up to her. And there was one patient too where he was with us in the hospital for over a year because he was really sick. And I would do Reiki on him. He even had a crystal, and he called me the crystal lady, and he would ask for a crystal bath. And, he passed away already. But, he was kind of willing. He got better at a certain point, and he had a lot of family issues going on too. But, I think ultimately he just got tired. And, like I said, it doesn't matter what I do. If he himself isn't changing his beliefs, it's not really nothing what I'm doing, but it's, like I said, no matter what I do, how much I want to heal him, how much I force healing on him, it still has to come from that person. Yeah. So everything else is just a temporary solution. Okay, so it's all about the vibes, and I wanted to demonstrate with the top. So I wanted to demonstrate with the top, we're talking about vibrations and how, outside sources can only do so much. So we'll pretend that we're the top, right? I'm going to do this on the floor. right? So the faster you spin, right, the higher your frequency, the more steady you are, right? You're still a little wobbly, but the slower your spin, like the more, the more susceptible you are
To outside forces.
yeah, to outside forces, good or bad, right? Like I can spin this too and try to make it go faster. But ultimately it's you, you have to generate your own frequency. So even if, for example, even if I did touch this and it was going fast, if I kept pumping the thoughts, then I can raise my own frequency, even if there was an outside source that tried to slow me down. Or at the same time, if something tried to speed me up, but I'm not pumping, I'm not spinning the top, it's still going to slow down even if there's something else outside of me that's trying to help me along.
That's a good analogy.
So,
Yeah.
so it's really up to you. And like I said, the slower your vibration, the more susceptible you are and the more wobbly you are. But the faster your vibration, the
steadier your core.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
The first time I saw Charmaine do that, I was like, oh my god, I love it. So it's such a good analogy.
Okay, and so what does high
Yeah, right?
vibration, what does high vibration, or what does low vibration feel like? Even in our regular language, some people will say they're paralyzed by fear. That's, like you can't move, right? Or you feel stuck, right? When you're not feeling positive or hopeful. Or you feel trapped, like you feel trapped in a situation maybe. Or, some people say life is dragging you down. So that's kind of what low vibrations feel like when you're in a low vibration state. And so, high vibration. People who feel good, like I said, sparkly. I felt sparkly when I was at my peak. And like you're floating on cloud nine, it feels expansive. Low vibration feels kind of like closed off and stagnant, whereas high vibration feels expansive and light and glowing, right? People say you're glowing. Or, when you're in the flow and you're just not stuck, you're moving along and you're free, you're free. Like I said, it feels very open and expansive. And, talking about good vibes, you feel somebody's energy sometimes, and, and so that's comparison. And so I just wanted to reinforce again that we are all the answers that we're looking for. Everything else outside of us can be tools, and they can help. But ultimately, we can't wait for somebody else to save us. We can't wait for somebody else to give us the answer. We can't wait for the government to, to fix everything. We just have to do it ourselves. And, we're already whole. People always say, no, I'm broken, I need to be fixed, and they give away their power to all these things that they feel will fix them. Whether it's medicine, whether it's religion, whether it's more education, we're all already whole, we're all already loved, and I think it's our beliefs that kind of block us from seeing that. And so, on the other side of the coin, where, we can't necessarily look to people for answers, we also can't put the blame on others. Like I said, we can't blame the government. They can, they have a certain effect on us, but ultimately, our realities, our problems, we always have a control over that. And we do have choices, to make things better. And, I can blame, I'm going to share this with you. So, for the longest time, I didn't even know how I got my sparkle back, but it wasn't until I was was just going over our workshop, thinking about what I was going to talk about, but I finally realized what it was. So going back to my story, my parents were divorced, and I didn't grow up with my dad. And for the longest time, I also got pregnant when I was young. So for the longest time, like, okay, maybe if my dad was around, I would have got pregnant. Maybe if my dad was around, we wouldn't have had such a hard time financially. Maybe if my dad was around, I'd been happier. Maybe if my dad was around, all these things, right? And then so there was an opportunity at that time, right before my sparkle came, there was an opportunity for my dad to come live with us because he had a stroke. But it was just, it didn't work out. We tried, it just didn't work out. And once I let go of him, I think that was it. Once I let go of my dad being the answer, I think that's why my sparkle came, and I wasn't relying on him anymore for maybe, for my what if. I totally owned my happiness. I totally owned who I was and all my accomplishments. It wasn't because of my dad, and I totally let that go. And looking back, I really think that was it. So, yeah. So you can't blame other people, and at the same time, you can't wait for other people to save you either. So I've seen this term online recently. There's all kinds of memes. Excuse me. So where you're unequitable, when you're truly at peace with yourself, that nothing anyone says or does bothers you, and negativity can't settle you. So kind of like that talk, if you're really sitting at a high vibration, it doesn't matter what anybody else outside of you does. You own your power, you own your feeling, you own your love. You can't say nobody loves me. You have to love yourself. So raising your own frequency. I mean, it's not necessarily always about being happy all day, but it's our frequency, our vibrations fluctuate. And even with this cough, I haven't gotten sick in so long. I never took the flu shot, and I think with this workshop, I was putting a lot of energy into it, and I think that kind of lowered my vibration because I have to make this perfect. I have to, people have to come, and in the book, the Louise Hay book, it says that if you have a cough, it means you're trying to say, "Listen to me," and that's why it hasn't gone away yet, because I wanted people to listen to me, and so hopefully after this workshop it'll go away. But so just raising your own frequency, even if you do, even I was telling myself, okay, it doesn't matter, your truth isn't going to change, even if nobody shows up, even if they don't believe you, it doesn't matter, your truth is still your truth. And so even though I was telling myself that, still had this little anxiety that I have to make this workshop.
Doing great.
And finding your groove. You were talking earlier about yoga and how you said Aikido works for you. There's all these things, even with the medicine, ways of living. People say, "Oh my God, you have to eat paleo. Oh my God, you have to go vegan." You really have to find what's right for you, because all of these things, I know, describe it. They're kind of like tools. Like I said, they're like rungs on a ladder. You can grab onto it and use it to boost yourself up, but you have to let go. I mean, you have to transcend that, and you have to find your own rung that will help you up. And you can obviously entertain suggestions and advice, and so a lot of people are always offering advice because they want to help people. But I don't think there's one. I mean, out of the billions of people on this planet, it's hard for me to believe that there's only one size, there's only one diet, there's only one religion, or only one job that is best for everybody. And we just all have to find our own way. it says here 7 years. And I'm like, I don't know about that. But, you know, like, I was very serious about it. I'm like, no, it says, you know, I have to do this. And, you know, it caused some problems. But, you know, like, now that I've kind of, I mean, it's only been like 2 years since, you know, I've gone on this journey. But now I'm more in a playful groove, you know, like I'll try that, you know, and if it doesn't work, hey, I've read so many books, but, you know, there's truth in everything, but it's not, just like what I'm talking about now, it's not the truth, but there's some truth, and you just kind of take whatever resonates with you. And so I encourage you to not be so solemn about, you know, I have to meditate for 20 hours, and, you know, just, I mean, Aikido, if it works for you, you know, that's great. People, you know, love yoga. So you just kind of have to feel what works for you, and what might work for you right now might not work for you in 10 days or in 2 years. I used to be all about the prime rib, maybe you can tell. But I used to be so against like vegans and vegetarians. Like, whatever, throw in a salad. But now, you know, like, my body is really asking for more vegetables, and I can't believe I'm juicing, but I'm juicing. So it's just, you know, kind of like listening. You know, you try things out, and if it makes you feel good, it makes you feel good. You don't have to apologize for anything. And even, you know, like, when I found my sparkle, I was going to this diet clinic, and, you know, people are like, oh my God, you should not go to that, you know, you shouldn't be taking those meds. But, you know, it felt good for me, and it worked for me, and I recommended it to so many people, and even though it worked for me, it didn't work for them. And so, even though it's already a pill that's supposed to be, like, gonna kill your appetite, it just didn't work for them, and so I didn't judge it at the time. I'm like, well, it makes me feel good, they're checking my vital signs, you know, I feel good about it. And then later on, when I tried to go back on it, you know, and I was trying to find my sparkle again, it didn't work for me at the time. So it's just about playing and just going out there and exploring what works for you. And I think the creative process also, as I've been doing this, I felt that, you know, when I paint or when I draw, insights come to me too. So I feel like that's helpful. So if you are into creating whatever in whatever way, I encourage you to do that. Yeah, and so be guided by what feels expansive. So again, you know, it's based on a feel, and that's why I wanted to do the exercise later to really get in touch with our intuition, because that's like our built-in GPS system. I mean, you can read a map, but ultimately it's up to you to decide where to go, and your connection with your intuition is what's going to help you. And I think this is the biggest one for me, is being in a state of grateful, non-judgment.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That even, you know, like I said, when I was first starting out my spiritual journey, I was kind of still judgy, you know, like, oh, like with my husband, oh my gosh, you're so, like, not, you know, like, he was like, you know, I was very judgy with him, you know, like, well, I'm on this path, so I don't know where you're going. But, you know, and even just, I guess it's like a playful state of mind where you're just kind of like observing, like, okay, you know, I'll try this, and being thank you for coming. Okay. And just being non-judgmental and just kind of taking things for face value, I guess, and just trying things. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It doesn't mean it's wrong for everybody. It's just not for you. And being open. So, just like I said, that's part of the playful, try everything kind of mentality. And choose love. And I think, essentially, even with the bad people, the bad things that happen, I think they're all lessons that eventually show us how to learn. I'm like that. Because whatever, you know, everything right now, you know, it's all temporary. And, you know, even the things that you, even just, you know, in the way that you live, you know, like I said, whatever works for you now might not work for you later. And in order for you to grow and move on to the next thing, you really have to let go of what doesn't serve you anymore. Okay. Okay. And so, basically, what I wanted to get out of this workshop is that, like I said, I'm not trying to sell you on my truth, but, you know, playing into, you know, the shapes that we saw earlier with cymatics. And I don't see auras. There's some people out there who see energies, who see auras, who see patterns with everything. I'm not one of those people, but I really do believe that if we look at ourselves from pure energy standpoint, I do believe we are like patterns, you know, and we have a soundtrack. We emanate sound with our being, and you know, we are this multi-dimensional, multi-sensory puzzle piece. And that when we're truly following our calling and, you know, listening to our hearts, we express ourselves as this beautiful puzzle piece. And that we are individuals, but in our interaction with other people, we kind of link up and kind of like, you know, we're individuals, like a piece of the puzzle, but we're also part of the all, like part of the whole puzzle. And when you fully listen to who you're supposed to be and you express yourself as a piece of the puzzle you're born to be, collectively, we make this beautiful, beautiful picture all together. And that if you're trying to be somebody else, basically, you're not fitting in, you know, to complete this whole puzzle we're meant to be. And I wanted to show you guys, yeah.
I'll
I
turn
know
off
they're
the
done.
lights.
I asked if we can go in the.
No, sure.
Yeah. I want to show you kind of, it's a simple, I mean, it's the light, it's like a light show, but I wanted to kind of give you a visual maybe of how they look as puzzle pieces and how they all kind of connect. So I'm going to see if the other room is clear. Yeah, if you guys are staying for the next part, basically the next part of the workshop is about kind of letting go of all our identities. And, you know, like I said, we are individuals here as a body, but we also kind of have to let go of those identities to connect with our inner selves. And that's also kind of key to connecting with your intuition. Did you need to go to the restroom or are you just, okay. Is it clear? Yeah.
Yeah, it's clear. Did you guys want to take a quick break and go to the restroom? We're going to end the presentation part of it, but this is kind of like a nice way to end it.
Yeah. Do you need to go to the restroom? Okay, very good. And then we're going to go for the light show.
Yeah.
We're going to go to
The yoga
take a
room.
left to the yoga room. It's okay.
I know it's raining, and Mom brings it Sunday.
Feel free to get more food or get a drink first. That's okay.
Should we take other things with us?
There's people here so they can watch, and we're gonna come back.
We are coming back.
Is this where session 3 is gonna, or the
Yes.
in front of it?
Yeah, but you can come.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. If you want to participate, that's fine.
Is it more like a silent activity or?
Not really. It's not like, you know, it's more of like we're gonna look at the lights and I'll just kind of talk through my observations or my interpretation of it. And then we'll just do like a little visualization exercise where, with your eyes closed or open, whatever, and then try to connect and see in our mind's eye what our souls look like. And then we can paint it out.
That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing
Yeah,
all
no
of that.
problem.
It's a refreshing way to look at things.
Thank you, thank you. But yeah, I had hang-ups before, like, nobody's gonna wanna hear this, or, you know, like, but yeah, I mean, that's part of, you know, and I did this workshop a month ago, but nobody showed up.
Uh-oh.
And that was like my biggest, like all my fears, like, oh my god, like I turned into like an 8-year-old, like, oh, it's totally okay. People actually signed up, but they just didn't show up, and you know, but I texted Tiffany, and then she came, and then there was another lady who came through a yoga
That's
studio.
awesome. I used to do a little bit of judo.
Now
They're
I
different, but then I just like the energy, like that you like when you're like, you know, sparring with someone.
Yeah, it's just
the
that,
energy
you know,
comes
like,
there. So
I think that's part of my growth.
I appreciate
I
that.
had to go through that experience.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, one of my parents, like, I was, she was like, we were
I
just
know,
like,
yeah, because
we talk about it, like, 'cause I was just doing, starting out with judo, and she was like doing judo for a
and then
while,
we'll
and I was like, oh,
promote it.
yeah,
Yeah,
but I haven't done it in a while.
You know, I
so-
don't, if people came, I don't
No.
think that opportunity would have come up again. So now I'm more involved. The night before, I was driving, my husband was like,
3 or 4 times a week.
and then like, you know, like, kind of the shoulder was like, I know, you know, just cry.
Yeah, I mean,
But you know, like, I still went through with it.
I think she makes
Like I said, I'm sure there's a reason why it happened. Looking back,
being able to
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
I
I'm the one person saying, like, here's my baby. Yeah, I didn't know so long. I was like in my binder, like super big, like Saturday.
Where's
Yeah,
your progress?
yeah, I was super excited. But this
I'm
is
still.
awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
yeah, no problem. You guys want to?
Wrapping up on the workshop part.
Do you have
Yes, we'll have you take it off on the other side.
Okay, we're gonna go over next door.
Yeah.
Let's go. Make sure.